Welcome to the Cocktail Guru Podcast,
a show about food, drink, and entertainment,
with a tight focus on the good life,
and all things delicious, luxurious, and fun.
I'm Jonathan Pogash, bartender, author, and the host of Cocktails The Grand Tour.
And I'm Jeffrey Pogash, wine and spirits professional, author, insatiable collector of culinary ephemera, and so people tell me, an engaging raconteur.
And my dad.
Oh, Dad, I'm actually looking at myself, and I have these staticky hair things. For those people who are watching on the YouTube channel, you can see that my hair is really staticky. So apologies, but if you're listening, you don't really know, and you don't really care. Your hair looks good, though, Dad.
Thank you very much. I just washed it.
Oh,
I don't have static electricity.
That was a little. That information tidbit there was a little too much for my taste. I can tell that our guests are about to crack up, but we're gonna bring them in a second. And I'd like to go ahead and taste what we have in front of us, which is, Dad, what do we have?
It is Chopin potato vodka.
I'm gonna pour myself.
And you have it straight in a glass. Neat. I have it in one of my famous Bloody Marys.
Oh, your famous Bloody Mary.
Bloody Mary is something I love.
I know,
to make.
it's your passion.
Have spent a lot of time studying that. So I love drinking them, and I haven't had one in a while. So this has given me a great excuse to produce one.
Let me taste Chopin neat here. It actually has been a little while, so this is a retasting. Oh yeah. Oh, it's got this full body, and I describe it as creamy, and it's also perfumey. It's very aromatic.
I love the texture when I taste it neat. Also, I detect a little bit of citrus when I taste it.
Oh yeah, I get that too. I'm also drinking lemon water on the side as well, so it kind of does go together.
In the Bloody Mary, the vodka really comes through. It becomes very pungent and just pierces through the spices that I've included.
Okay, so
and I do have cayenne pepper in my Bloody Mary,
spicy,
which makes it very spicy.
So this is actually a very special episode. Not that our other episodes are not special, but this is extra special because we actually have two guests simultaneously, which is the first time we've ever done this. So technology with the Cocktail Guru podcast has really stepped it up. We're stepping up the technology. But Dad, you want to start with
Yes, we have two very special guests, but I'm going to introduce the first, and that's Mr. Tad Dorda. Tad is someone I have worked with in my past life because I was very much involved in promoting and, of course, tasting a spirit known in English as Little Water, but better known by us as vodka. Tad is the founder and owner of perhaps...
I was going to say, we have to explore the whole past life thing because that sounds very interesting to me, but we'll get back to that.
Yes, we will.
Because you said past life. Okay.
My past life, yes. Well, I am now in my second life with you.
Yes, you're
what
born
we're doing
again.
now is part of my second life. Yes,
okay.
It's born again.
Continue.
Tad, who I spent time working with, is the founder and owner of perhaps the most musical of all vodkas, Chopin, an estate-produced vodka made in Poland. Its flagship is made from potatoes, but there is a wheat vodka and there is a rye vodka as well in the portfolio. And I must say that I've had the privilege of working with some great people in the wine and spirit world, but only a handful can be considered gentle and distinguished statesmen. Tad Dorda is one of those men. His knowledge of vodka makes him an incredible, outstanding ambassador, not only for his own brand, Chopin, but for the entire category of vodka. It's a great pleasure for me to welcome Tad Dorda to our episode.
And
thank you.
There's Tad, and in addition to Tad, guys, we have a second guest. So Saeed House, aka Hawk, is a bartender, mixologist, restaurant beverage consultant, model. Ooh, and is this true, Dad? You wrote this earlier. A member of the recording industry, is that possible? Maybe we can talk about that later. Okay.
Yes, he can explain that.
Okay, photographer, and he's got Cocktails by Hawk. cocktails made at home. He's considered an influencer. I think we could probably say that.
Yep.
And also an NFT and crypto specialist, which maybe I don't
Yes.
know. We were talking about it in the pre-interview, and so we will talk about it. So, welcome Tad and Hawk together at last.
Hello.
Welcome. Hello.
Great to have you both. And I guess we do have to start off by asking each of you, we'll start with Tad, what is your desert island drink?
So if you were
trapped
stranded
on a desert island, if you were stranded, what would you love to have as a drink with you on that desert island?
For me, the choice is obvious. I will grow some potatoes and distill them, and that will be Chopin. So, and because there will be no ice on the desert island, I will have to have it straight and warm, and that's how I like it.
Hey,
Unless I have some tomatoes, and I will make a Bloody Mary.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Mm-mm.
Saeed, what about
I think,
you?
desert island drink. If I had one drink for the rest of my life, I would have to say it would be. I mean, and it is. Today is the day. It is actually National Margarita Day. So I do love my agave, but I will say, yes, the Tommy's Margarita. But my little twist on that spec is I would like to add an orange peel and do the Regal shake. So you get all that orangey goodness, that agave, that citrus, that thirst quenching goodness. But I think I could live off of that drink for the rest of my life.
Being a great margarita fan, I would agree with you, Saeed. That sounds yummy. Yummy.
It does.
Great. Let me start off with Tad by asking about your lovely family. Chopin is definitely a family-owned and operated distillery. I had the good fortune of spending time in Poland and having dinner with you and your family there, and I just absolutely love it. And one of the reasons for that is its location. I'm probably going to mispronounce this. Is it Krzesk?
Yes, it's a little village in the eastern part of Poland, which is called Krzesk in Polish.
Krzesk. Okay,
But,
and it's
the way that's hard to pronounce, so I will accept you, Kresk.
well. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Forgive,
and it is
forgive
right,
my father. Forgive my father, please.
and it's right on the border with a country that's very much in the news right now, and that's
Well,
Ukraine.
we are lucky. It's about 100 miles from that border, so I guess
Yeah.
we're okay for the time being.
Well, it happens to be the Pogash family homeland, Ukraine. So that area becomes very important to me, and I've been studying it, learning much more about it than ever before. And speaking of family, can you tell us about your family? Your lovely daughter, Alexandra, is part of the Chopin distillery now. She's brand manager, I believe.
Well, she's very much involved. She had a period where she studied and then went into investment banking and other ventures, but she discovered that she loved that business, and she jumps back by creating her own products, which is Kasama Rum. But at the same time, she's also very much involved in the vodka business, which is the Chopin brand and all of the addition to it.
But that's really exciting that she's making rum now, and she's doing that at the distillery, correct?
Well, obviously she's not doing the rum in a distillery because she's promoting a Filipino rum. She also has a Filipino heritage, so that's why her passion. Philippines is known very much for producing rum, so she's basically involved in that one. She's discovering the other side of the world, which is Philippines. But that's a wonderful rum, where obviously the factory in Poland does all of the rest for her, which is bottling and making it ready for introduction to the American market.
And I know the answer on my end, but what is it like working with your family?
Well, it has up and downs, as you know.
Oh, does it? Does it?
Yeah, because everybody is opinionated and everybody has his own idea. And if it is not family, you can tell somebody a little bit off. And if it is a family, you can't. So your father will always be the father, and I always will be Alexandra will always be my daughter, regardless of what we think. We cannot fire each other. So that's. But it has obviously the beauty of working and seeing exactly, when the family follows in the footsteps.
Well, the difference is my son can fire me at any time. So
That's right.
I'm
It's
still
true. And
vulnerable.
Jeff, what went wrong? What went wrong?
that may well just happen after this interview. But just kidding. That's a joke. Okay. So let's go to Saeed. Now, talking about family, also, I'd love to know, where did you grow up, and kind of what was your family dynamic? I know a lot of people who started in the bar business started by like making drinks for their parents. I don't know if that was part of this or what.
No, I wasn't making drinks for my parents, but I was making drinks for my friends. So at least a little about me and my background. Like, I was born in LA, raised in San Diego, went up to the Bay Area and got my bachelor's in audio engineering. And that's where the Bay Area is where I actually started seeing craft cocktails and whatnot. And I was fortunate enough to work with some really great mentors and stuff like that, and bar back at some notable bars and whatnot. One being Cantina, which is now Pacific Cocktail, which is now Pacific Cocktail Haven. And then after working there, I went over to Prize Fighter in Emeryville, which is also another great bar. But then, I came down to LA, and I was like, I really want to continue this passion and creating cocktails and whatnot. So, I started bar backing there, and then started working my way up to be a bartender and whatnot. And yeah, I just really kind of fell in love with just creating cocktails and just mixing with different flavor profiles and just, exploring it all. And it's like, and the other part about it too is I loved taking care of people. Hospitality industry is like, you can't be a good bartender and not be hospitable, So it's like, you really got to know what your audience and what your guests want. Yes, you can guide them to trying new things, but at the end of the day, they're going to order what they want to order, and that's what you got to do. You got to give it to them, right?
You give them what they want.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the bottom line, and I always remember those famous words. One of my mentors, Gaz Regan. That was his big MO. Hospitality. He taught me all about working behind the bar, and I had a similar trajectory. I started as a bar back as well, and I think that's really interesting, because when you're starting off as a bar back, you're seeing everything.
Absolutely.
That's the best on the job training, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, being a bar back and knowing how everything is created, how everything is stored, making the syrups, actually putting in the physical work of juicing fresh citrus, you really build the appreciation for what the bartenders are doing, right? So it's like, I feel like that is the only way. Yes, you could go to bartending school, but I wouldn't recommend that, because at the end of the day, bartending school is not going to teach you the physical work about it. It's just, they're going to teach you recipes and whatnot, but you can very well learn recipes by reading a book, right? Or going online and finding out recipes. But being in the physical work of it all, seeing how everything is made and created and whatnot, that is the true way to kind of become a bartender. I don't know. I mean, so there are some people that cheat, will be they'll be a server and they'll be a bartender, but they just don't understand the appreciation of the physical work of it all. So yes, being a bar back, I did that for 2 years, and I was just I get it now. And so I always have appreciation. I have an appreciation for my bar backs, when they're helping me out, and because I was there at one point. I get the struggle.
Fantastic. Tad, when we were in Poland together.
I want to hear some Poland stories.
Yes, you took us to a couple of lovely restaurants and bars. And I think at the time, this was 14 or 15 years ago, I think. and cocktails, I believe, were just coming into being, craft cocktails, that is. And can you tell us something about the cocktail scene today in Warsaw and other major cities?
Yes, 15 years makes a big difference. Obviously, at that time, the cocktails, you basically brought it with you, and we were talking about it because obviously we were talking to the American audience, and the cocktails already at that time were very popular. In Poland, we were drinking it more straight, I would say,
Yes.
and now by obviously we are just as enthusiastic about cocktails as you are in this country. So a lot of have changed. But we went to some restaurants which were promoting the Polish food, I remember, and
Mhm.
then we have set it up, and we were trying to match the what we were drinking. And vodka is a very popular drink, has been a very popular drink for many years because that's where vodka originated from. So vodka in a different ways with the food, and that's what we did at that time. And I still believe in this tradition, and I still promote it that way. However, I do obviously embrace a wonderful culture of cocktails as well.
So there
So
is, so things are exploding in
uh,
Warsaw
yes,
and
I
other major
invite you to
cities.
come back, and you will see that's a different world from
Mm,
what you have seen 15 years ago, both in the distillery and in the restaurants and food and cocktail culture. Uh, it has changed a lot.
fantastic.
For the better, of course. For the
Mhm.
better.
And
And when we,
before, go ahead, Dad. Sorry.
no, you go.
Oh, I was just going to say, before the next question, let's take a quick little break. We'll be right back.
Hey Dad, I just retasted Junipero Gin out of San Francisco. Man, it has been a while. This gin is known for being the original American craft gin. It is a bold style bottled, unfiltered at a big 98.6 proof.
Yes, John, it is bold and delicious, and it works really well in my favorite drink of all time.
Diet Coke?
No, John, no. A 50,
A what?
a 50-50 martini.
Oh, yes. Okay, I would have to agree with that.
Okay, we're back. Dad is chomping at the bit. He's got a question.
I wanted to go back to the different types of vodka made by Chopin. Potato is the flagship vodka, but there's also rye and wheat. And can you explain to us what the differences are between the three vodkas?
Yes, let's start with what we know about vodka as a consumers, and we probably quite openly can say we know nothing.
That's
Uh, Basically, the only word which is used is smooth. Didn't burn me. I didn't have a headache. That's about. If we were talking about that kind of way about wine, we'll be laughing of somebody's ignorance. But that's where we are as far as the vodka is. So tasteless, odorless, without any character. My only question for that is, why would you want to drink something like that? I wouldn't.
exactly. No.
But at the same time, I have to say all of that is not true, which what makes that story so wonderful. Because when I really look at from the production side and the culture and when I grew up, vodka is nothing like it is described and how it is perceived. It's a wonderful product which has a lot of characteristics that we need to explore. So let's start with what you have mentioned, the three key ingredients. Why do we make it out of potato, rye, and wheat? Because, like in many other parts of the world, we do it from what we have. Somehow grapes don't want to grow that nicely in our climate. Potatoes do. And because we have that, historically, the distillation, you distill what you have. And let me tell you the difference. The differences between those three are huge. Unless you, if you don't pay attention to it, you will probably not notice. If you're drinking in the cocktails, it does make a difference. Good cocktails is about good ingredients. And so you cannot say, I put a vodka into this cocktail and that's basically going to be the same. Oh, no. Potato. First of all, it starts a very much more heavy. It's like a heavy wine. It's a viscosity of it. It's creamy, as we call it, It's very gentle and it stays in the mouth, and the creamy sweet alcohol generally is sweet. The rye, however, has a little bit more bite to it. It has a bitterness to it. It has the characteristic. It's much more aggressive alcohol. And wheat, wheat is sweet. It's very gentle. For me, it is summery vodka, sipping, very gentle, very, very delicate. So those are the basics of the three. They are completely different. And what is nice to do when we do the tasting is to put them side by side and let people discover and talk about it. And it's always the same. People's eyes open and they are so excited to see that yes, there are differences. They start to notice it. And once you get that, the journey just starts. And then we can talk about varieties of potatoes. We can talk about vintages. We can talk about climate, soil, terroirs, all of those wonderful stories that you can really, we should talk about it. And that's basically what exciting and what excites me to be in it, that vodka need to be discovered. And I guess when you came to Poland 50 years ago, that was for the same reason. And when people see what it is, they will never say vodka is vodka again.
Mm-hmm.
I remember going through that same tasting with you, the potato, wheat, and rye vodka tasting, and it was eye-opening, truly. And based on what you're saying, the three vodkas would necessarily produce quite different cocktails if you mix them.
They absolutely do. And I think, again, it needs to be stressed, and it does make a completely different cocktails, how it feels.
And what I love what you said, Tad, is great cocktails require great ingredients, and that's a given. And Saeed, I'd love for you to touch on vodka specifically as an ingredient, and
Mhm.
how do you allow the vodka to shine through in cocktails in general, and your experience behind using vodka in cocktails.
It's obviously for me, it's just going off of what I taste in that vodka. So in the past, I was able to create a martini variation with the potato, the Chopin potato. And yes, when I was making this martini, it's like, because martinis, they are such a specific cocktail, and to me, I feel like cocktails that have the least amount of ingredients are the hardest to create. So making a martini that is three ingredients, I did a deep dive in vermouth to find out which vermouth I thought would pair well, and kind of figure out what kind of direction I wanted to go with this martini. So with the Chopin potato, I picked up the Lo-Fi Aperitifs dry vermouth.
Oh, yeah.
And then in that vermouth, I found that citrus, that elderflower spice. It does have a little bit of gentian in it and whatnot. But then when I was picking up my bitters that I wanted to do with it, I picked up the Bitter Cube Bolivar bitters, which has that chamomile, has that jasmine, a little bit of cassia, some cinnamon, some prune, some raisin, some clove, and gentian. So putting those all together really made a delightful martini that just highlighted all the flavor profiles with Chopin potato. And I gotta find the actual specs so you guys can try it out yourself and so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And then for the garnish, to make it nice and pretty and picturesque, I used chamomile flowers. So I found like some chamomile flowers I just put on top of it and whatnot. But that to me was the ultimate martini, and it was so delicious, and my mouth is salivating right now as I think about it.
Yeah, same.
Uh,
Same here.
Yeah.
And so going from a cocktail like that with very few ingredients to a cocktail that you and my father both enjoy. You have a mutual obsession with Bloody Marys, I hear.
Right.
Is that true?
Correct. Bloody Marys, I'm very, very specific and particular about my Bloody Marys. And one thing that I find that is a common thing when I go out to bars and order a Bloody Mary is texture. Texture, I feel like every time I get a Bloody Mary, I feel like it's just thin. So I feel like my hack for creating a delicious Bloody Mary at home is, instead of using just tomato juice, I would recommend getting canned crushed tomatoes and blending it, and then adding your own water source so you can find the perfect balance and texture that you prefer. Because I do like a nice, not necessarily thick, but just a Bloody Mary with body. I
Yeah.
like body in my cocktails. So
Like meaty, like
yeah,
a meaty Bloody
yes.
Mary.
I
And
mean,
speaking,
if you're hungover, and you need to like kind of cure that hangover, it's like like you can't. Sometimes you can't really eat when you're hungover, right? So you want to just drink something. So you want to have something that has that body and that texture that you can actually like kind of regain your life back after a good night of
yeah,
drinking or what.
yeah, and Dad, I know you love lots of garnish on your Bloody Marys, like burgers and
No, I don't.
burgers and oh,
No,
you
I
don't.
don't.
Oh.
No, I don't. No, I don't. No, he's joking. I don't. I'll put a lime wheel, or maybe a wedge, or a lemon wheel or wedge, and that's the extent of my garnish. And I agree with Saeed. The reason that I got on this Bloody Mary kick in the first place is because I was really tired of drinking these thin, watery versions of Bloody Marys in
Mm-hmm.
restaurants. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot. At the time, could not get a decent Bloody Mary anywhere. Didn't matter
Right.
where I went. Some were better than others, certainly, but that's what got me started on the path. But I don't do what you do, Saeed. I don't go as far as you do. But based on what you've said today, I think I will start experimenting
Yeah.
with crushed tomatoes, and maybe it will come out even better.
No, I think it would. It's like I said, it's all about texture in Bloody Marys.
Yeah.
Last
Yeah.
thing I want is a watery Bloody Mary. That's the last thing.
And
Yeah.
so Cocktails by Hawk, which is your company. So you're basically you're making cocktails, you're photographing them, your video, social media. It's like an all encompassing kind of a thing, right?
It's just all like an umbrella, right? It's all
Yeah.
bartender related, bartending related, cocktail creating related. It's the umbrella company. And I've been fortunate enough to work with a bunch of brands. I've worked with Chopin a handful of times, doing some stuff. And one of my favorite expressions of Chopin, and I'm super fortunate to have this, is actually the Family Reserve. This bottle
Ooh.
is
Ooh.
this bottle
Yes.
stays in my house. It stays. This bottle stays restocked in my house, and it's like the only vodka that I personally love, because it's so creamy. When Tad was touching on that creamy factor about the potatoes, this is that, and this is so phenomenal, and I just absolutely love it. But I was able to do some like dope photos and whatnot, and create a nice, delicious martini with it too. So, but yes, fortunate enough to kind of start the brand that I have, and work with a bunch of other brands, and actually do some events and whatnot, and consulting. So it's been a whirlwind.
Awesome.
That's wonderful. I can't wait to taste that Family Reserve one day. That sounds
Yes.
absolutely delicious. I did read
It
about
is.
it, but haven't had the opportunity to taste it yet. Tad, there is something I wanted to ask you concerning the history of vodka. When I was with you in Poland, I believe you gave me a bottle of a vodka that was infused with herbs. Do you recall that moment?
Yes, I recall it very well. To this day, we make that vodka, and
Yes.
it has that name which of the village where it's made, which you so beautifully pronounce, Krzeska. So,
Czeska.
Krzeska, that's what the name. And actually, it's a wonderful product. It was designed. It has about 17 different spices and herbs from that area, and it's beautiful to sip after dinner as after drink, and very relaxing and very good for digestion. But that's what you have tried. We never, that's a product which we never brought to the United States,
Right.
but it is locally available.
Yes, but the point is, it is vodka, correct?
Well, yes and no, because as you know, it's all about definition. If we change the definition of vodka, it would be, but because it is infused, it is not. And so it is infused vodka. but you know how the definition goes. So
Of
we
course.
can talk about definition of vodka for a second. I will clarify it because it's an interesting that the way that it is written is changing a little bit. But the way that the definition of vodka is written, we basically can make that out of anything, which is we can make it out of a blue agave, we can make it out of apples, we can make it out of grapes, and so on. And some of those products are made. But what a beautiful possibility! I mean, I'm going to make a very controversial statement, which is true, which is very true. First time on this podcast.
Wow.
All of the distilled spirits, doesn't matter what they are made of, start as vodka. Because if we can make it out of whatever, if we distill whatever it is, local product, we are going to get a clear distillate, and it is going to be vodka. Only afterwards they get certain characteristics because there are certain definitions or requirements or region where they were distilled and they acquire the different names, but they are vodkas. Now, so that gives us a huge possibility. However, we are in this part of the world where we actually distilled and call it vodka. So that's where we are. And I like the simplicity, just like Jeff was saying about simplicity of the Bloody Mary that he loves so much. I like the good tasting product, but the simplicity of it, because life is so complicated and so fast that basically, unless we go to expert like Saeed, who is, so well trained and knowledgeable about it, and he just basically makes it in a few seconds without even thinking about it. When I think about it and I have to do it myself, it will not come that way. So basically, for me, simplicity is the final achievement.
And speaking of things that are not simple, Saeed, we were talking earlier about crypto and NFTs. And I just wanted, I know Dad's putting his hands up like I give up.
I'm throwing up my hands. Sorry. I don't want any part of that.
Jeff, I welcome you in Poland. We can then talk privately.
Oh, that's great, Dad. I welcome that.
I'd like to know, please, Saeed, any sort of education on that kind of thing. Like, what are you doing with it? What's the deal? What the hell are these things? I know it's loaded questions.
It is a loaded question, but NFTs to me, it's just obviously you've heard this word around, and it's just taken the internet by storm, and the whole metaverse it's a whole thing. But what I see NFTs is just a way to kind of sell your art, right? The things that you create. So when I first heard about it, I was just like, you know what? I know there's got to be a way I can connect what I'm doing behind the bar, like creating these cocktail recipes, and then somehow attaching it to this NFT, right? So technically what I've been doing is just like it's almost like publishing a book, right? So say you publish a book, you have your cocktail recipes that you have created. They're obviously unique and whatnot, and you sell them, right? I'm essentially selling my cocktail recipes that I've created that are one of a kind and unique and whatnot, and say publishing it on the Ethereum blockchain, right? So but when you buy the recipe, I'm not only just selling you a JPEG, I'm actually selling you an experience. So what I like to do is I like to kind of sell a masterclass in creating the cocktail. So not only you're getting a live, one-on-one Zoom session with me, or it could be with a group of 5 friends that you can invite to this cocktail class and session. And we get on Zoom. I have been sending the cocktail ingredients to you, to whoever buys the NFT, and we do a live, whether it be 30 minutes, an hour cocktail session, creating the class and education on just like a little quick tidbits about bartending, a little quick tidbits about the spirit that the cocktail I'm selling and whatnot. And I've been able to partner with some brands to do this, and not only are you getting that experience, depending on the brand and what the kind of utility is. For instance, one brand is offering, since they're at the distillery, if you buy this NFT, you get like one free cocktail for life at the distillery that if you choose to visit it and whatnot. So it's a whole lot. I understand. I just
That
kind of
is,
unloaded a
dude.
whole lot, but
It's so much.
it is an experience. It's not just a JPEG, but at the end of the day, too, what I love about it is I've been kind of donating money, whatever money that is generated from NFTs, I've been donating it to charities as well. So it's not just like a
Oh,
huge
great.
cash grab. It
Yeah,
does.
yeah.
There is a bigger fulfillment to it where it's like that money is going to charities, and it's just like
Yeah.
whatever the brand or distillery likes to, what kind of charity they want to promote and whatnot, that's where that money is going to. So I'm not like just taking everyone's money and running and whatnot. We're actually giving it back to the community and whatnot.
That's what Dad thinks. Dad thinks that that's what it is. It's taking people's money and running it. But there are legs. This kind of thing does have legs, and I'm starting to rethink my attitude on it and wanting to learn more.
I wanted to get back, since we're toward the end of our podcast, get back to the definition of vodka. If vodka is supposed to be odorless, colorless, and tasteless, then why do we have flavored vodkas on the market? They are far from odorless and flavorless. So that kind of contradicts the definition that we have established for vodka. So I wanted to go back to that herb and spice infused vodka, because it wasn't that the way in which vodka was produced in the past.
Very much so. That's a very popular tradition that we have in Poland, and everybody make his own kind of infused vodkas. People actually do it at home from the local fruits that they have, and then they pair it with food, and they enjoy and they talk about it. So that's a beautiful tradition, and that's what that herbal, spicy vodka was connected to when I introduced it to you. First of all, the tradition of making vodka in Poland is probably about 500 years or longer. We make vodka in the same locations for 125 years, since 1896. So all of that is really very, in the same way, and for many years, and the whole thing that the tradition is very important. If you make a good vodka, don't rush it. Do it with passion. Do it, like a good wine estate, and pay attention to it. As Saeed said shortly about this special vodkas that he has a bottle there, which is family reserve. And that was a special one. Let me just say two words about it, because potato is not a potato. There's so many of them, and such a fascinating. It's just like vodka. Nobody knows much about it, but it's such a wonderful subject, which maybe we can talk separately on some different occasion. But that particular product is made out of potatoes, which we dig out way ahead of its time, when it still doesn't have the strong skin. You can almost wash it off. But it's we call it young in this country. You call it in US we call it early. In the European tradition, we call them young. They don't have a skin, and so they are the profile is very delicate, but it has an earthly thing. Beautiful product, very hard to make, and on top of that, it has advantages. That particular product that was there was grown in 2016. So if somebody thinks that vodka, you make it today and tomorrow you drink it, yes, you can do that, but it's like young wine. It does need time to settle. It does need one to mature, and then basically that one is made. It was beautiful growing season in 2016, and those are potatoes from 2016, so it's 8 years old.
Wow!
It has been sitting in a special. We call them vats or tanks for maturing vodka. So. Again, if we start talking about vodka in an intelligent way, it's a beautiful product. We can learn, we can enjoy, we can sip it, we can put it in the cocktails, and the story is wonderful. So Jeff, come over and we will go deeper into this beautiful world. I don't know if you want to bring your son with you, because I mean,
excuse me, what am I like, guys? Tad, what am I? Am I chopped liver over here?
We love the kids. We like the kids, but they want to take over. So let's just do it the old-fashioned way and enjoy it. But anyway, you are welcome. Of course, I'm joking. But,
Thank you. Well, we'd love to go. And Tad, this has been amazing. Thank you so very much for being our guest. And Saeed, next time we're in Hollywood, we will definitely hang out and go to some tiki spots and go to some of your favorite spots.
Let's do it.
And Tad, I'm so glad we could reconnect, and I hope that we will stay in touch.
Well, let's stay in touch and let's spend some time together.
And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, Dad?
Yes, John?
Do you like to be adventurous?
Well, you know I do.
Well, how about a spirit that embodies adventure?
You know I'll drink to that.
Well, let's go for a dram of Cutty Sark, because you and I both know that you love to live on the wild side.
Yes, I do, and I'll have my Cutty Sark in a classic whiskey sour. I can taste it now. Fresh lemon juice, simple syrup, Cutty Sark blended scotch, egg white.
Really? Egg white in your sours?
John, do you really know me?
Check out Cutty on social media at Cutty Sark USA.
That does it for today's show. If you enjoy what we do, please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. You can also support the show with a small monthly donation to help sustain future episodes. Just click on the donate button at the top of our website and choose your donation amount. To learn more about future guests, visit www.thecocktailgurupodcast.com or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.
The Cocktail Guru podcast is produced by First Reel Entertainment and distributed by EatsDrinksTV, a service of the Center for Culinary Culture, home of the Cocktail Collection, and is available via Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, and wherever you listen to your favorite shows.